The gold price watch will now be put on hold. Prices went up and down and you need this much or this much less to retire. We'll instead look at the big picture. What can we do to buy something without having to give up a kidney? That plan doesn't really work for a big group. Gold cost $2,624 at the start of the year. On January 1st, 2025, it's now well over $4,100. In less than a year, that's a 58% rise. It will be different to buy gold now than it was before. It's even more important if you go back to January 1st, 2024. It cost $2,064 an ounce to buy gold. Gold's price has gone up by more than 2 times in just under 2 years. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't buy today or that you missed your chance to buy, but it does mean that the plan has changed and things have changed a lot. There's more than just spot price to talk about. The rates have changed. It has changed how much a dealer will pay to buy your gold back. The worth of coins has changed. Things we used to think about when we bought gold in the past are very different from what they are now, even compared to 2 years ago. We need to change how we do things now. Also, before we go any further, I want to give a quick shout out to Summit Metals, who sponsors this channel. They have what you need if you want to buy gold or silver. Also, if you want to sell, they can help you with that too. They'll take care of both of you during the sale. SummitMetals.com. First, let's look at a real-life example of how making a habit stick can add up. For almost 8.5 years, I bought a quarter ounce of gold every month. That's 26 ounces or 3 ounces a year. The most I would have paid for that is about $1,700 an ounce. That's what I did. I planned my purchases and used cash I would have wasted otherwise. At that time, it cost around $450 a month. Also, 26 ounces of gold are worth about $109,000 now. Because of this, a fairly easy monthly plan will save you $109,000. It should sound pretty good. We could always come up with a reason not to do that. With the benefit of reflection, we can think of ways that money could have grown even more, but even with all of that, it worked pretty well as a way to save money for a rainy day fund. What I bought, why I decided to do what I did, how I'd sell it, and the tax side of it are all things I talked about before. But as I already said, most of the things you need to think about when planning have changed. There are still some choices that need to be made. Let's quickly go over the basics. The first thing to do is decide what to buy. I got things I liked when I first started shopping in 2008. The gold maple leaf was at the top of that list, and it's easy to see why. They're just beautiful coins that make you want to know more. What I didn't understand at the time was that when you're in a sale, it's no longer about what you want, it's about what other people like, and I've seen that happen many times myself. But this wasn't a big problem for my planned purchases because I talked to the owner of a nearby coin shop before I made the decision to make that a regular purchase, which I plan to do every month. I asked him what he would be most willing to give me back. He didn't miss a beat. By a large measure, he liked American Gold Eagles better than anything else. While these may not look as good, they were the easiest to sell because they were the most well known. There were also reasons why buyers who bought a lot of them liked them. When they were sold, they didn't cause any kind of 1099B reporting. That has changed a bit since then. All of that could be looked at to see what made the most sense, but what local buyers want doesn't always make sense. That doesn't change the fact that someone will still choose a certain thing. At that time, eagles were by far the most famous bird. Today, things are going to be different, right? Not really though. People I know who work in coin shops in my area still say that eagles and bulls are the most popular coins. Now, what you can afford is probably going to be the most important part. For me, quarter ounce American Gold Eagles were the best choice because they were both famous and affordable. So the choice was clear. From time to time, I switched quarters for 1 ounce coins. This wasn't because it was smart, but because it kept me interesting. Getting to 1 ounce coins was just a part of the game. I wanted an American Eagle tube. That's how I got there. I bought small amounts that I could afford and then traded them up when I could. It cost me a little more in extra that way. Again though, not everything has to make sense. An Eagle tube was my extra goal. That's how I got there. Here's the issue. With the prices we have now, this would not have worked for me at all. If the spot price of gold was more than $4,100, I wouldn't have been able to start buying a quarter ounce of gold every month. There's a lot of similarity between the math for a 10th ounce and the math for quarters from 2013 to 2020. And they are a choice I would actually think about today. Now, if you notice the pause is because of the extra costs. If you've watched any of my other Gold 101 videos, I've talked about how the prices of 1/10 ounce coins used to be outrageously high. By the middle of 2020, American gold stars worth 1/10 of an ounce had premiums of 25% or more. Those are down now, but you should still keep a close eye on things. But if you want to use this as a way to save money, The most important thing is still to find a market price that you can afford to pay regularly. You pay a certain amount more than the spot price of the metal. If you don't know what a premium is, let me explain. That means that if you buy a coin with a 20% bonus and then sell it the same day, you might lose the whole 20%. That's a lot to give up, 20%. Now, if you sell them a 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagle, they might pay you 5% more than spot. You'd have to give up a little less, but it's still a big part of making a plan that will work. That being said, the spot price of gold has gone up 58% so far this year, which has been helpful for us. No matter what you did, you'd be well ahead of any of those fees. Still, you want to cut down on your possible buy to sell spread as much as you can. That makes it a lot harder to make a monthly buy with a low spread now than it was 10 years ago. Now look, this is also kind of fun. This is about games. If we only wanted to make smart decisions, we probably wouldn't buy anything physical in the first place, since it costs more and is harder to store, which increases the potential costs. What I would do instead today is stick with buying quarter ounces and just change how often I do it. In general, the smaller the premium percentage, the bigger the coin. You could also choose Britannias or gold maple leafs. If you want a smaller premium, those are good options. But for many reasons, I wouldn't go any lower in the price chain to find gold that is cheaper than that. The rise this year has been so strong that we've had a lot more freedom to do what we want. However, today it's still important to think about our exit strategy. One more thing that hasn't changed is the idea of how to make things more like games. Setting both short-term and long-term goals keeps things interesting. Now, these wallets and mint tubes help me keep track of my progress toward an ounce of gold, a few ounces of gold, and finally a full tube of gold. It's clear that it all adds up. Now, I said to keep this fun. One more thing that does that is having a grail to chase every once in a while. What beautiful ultra high relief lunars from the Perth Mint they are. I don't always catch them, but they hit differently than an eagle or buffalo. They're just more fun. Let's get this straight. This is not the best thing you can do. It's not usually a good idea to go after expensive collectible gold coins, but it's hard to deny how interesting they are.